Hey, welcome back everybody. I've got a little tutorial I'm going to try to do on cleaning the carburetor on a small engine. This particular small engine is a Briggs & Stratton. It just won't start. I bought this pressure washer pretty cheap actually. Guy said it's brand new, used it one time, put it up, got it out to use it the next year, couldn't get it to start. Stated he cleaned the carburetor and still couldn't get it to start. So we're going to start with the carburetor because that's normally your issue. If it ran fine when you put it up and then it don't run when you get it back out, then more than likely it's carburetor. So it's a good idea to try to use some fuel treatment, fuel stabilizer, and for a small engine that you don't use very often, I would try to use non-ethanol fuel in it. It'll save you a lot of headaches. But anyway, I'll flip the camera around so that you can see what we're working on. So this particular pressure washer is a Troy built. Has a Briggs & Stratton 875EXI. And this is one of those models. Let me grab the cover for the air filter, for the air cleaner. I've not ever had one of these. I've never owned one of these deals, but no prime, no choke, just pull for power. So this particular carburetor evidently doesn't have a choke on it. At least one that you operate manually. So I'm gonna get the carburetor off of this thing, and I'm gonna put you guys up here on the camera stand. I'm hoping I can get a good shot of it. So, cause I can't really do this stuff with one hand. So we'll start by taking the air cleaner housing off, and we'll see what we've got underneath here. Looks like the on and off switch here is integrated into that cover. So we'll just start by taking these loose first, and let's see what happens. It's getting about time to use the pressure washer some, so no time like the present to see if we can fix it. Looks like it does have some sort of choke on it. No, actually it don't. Let me get you around here where you can see this. Let's see if we can get this down a little bit so you can look in the carburetor. So you can see it has the throttle plate, and it's, you know, closed when it's not running. So you got your, I think you can see right there, that's your governor rod. That controls the speed of the motor, the engine I should say. So looks like we got a couple of looks like 7/16 bolts here that hold the carburetor on. Also they have a Torx in them as well. And I did check the fuel tank. The fuel tank is empty of fuel, so we're going to take the fuel line loose next to get the fuel line off the carburetor. Allow us to take it off. I mean, it has the tiniest amount in the bottom of the tank, maybe 1/4 of an inch or less in this little lower sump right here. So I'll grab something to catch what little bit of fuel may come out. So there's going to be just a little bit. Give me just a second, let me find the container. Okay, we'll use this little small container here. I don't think it's gonna have much in it. Mainly what little bits in the hose, because there's, like I said, there's just not a whole lot in it. And I'll just leave this dangling, be easy enough to disconnect these spade connectors here. But I don't see any need in doing that right now. And for those of you that don't really understand how this kill switch works, so this engine don't have a battery, so it uses a magneto under the flywheel to supply the spark to the spark plug. This black wire is directly off the magneto, off of the body of it. This red wire goes to the ground on the engine, and this switch just simply makes up the connection between the two, which grounds out the magneto and kills the spark on it. So if you were to just leave this red wire loose, start this engine up on position, when you try to kill it, it won't stop. It won't kill the engine because it's not got a path to ground, which is through this red wire here. But anyway, we're gonna leave this hanging. There's no need taking that off. I'm gonna take a pair of pliers here and squeeze this clamp. I'll probably take the tank off of this because it looks like it has a little bit of sediment in it. So while we've got it off, we may as well just go ahead and clean it. The tank is empty, so why not? So these little fuel hoses can be a pain to get off sometimes, and other times they just come directly off. Looks like this one's gonna be friendly to us today. We're just gonna ease it loose here. And as you can see, there's just not very much fuel gonna come out of it because it's pretty much empty. And I would recommend when you're taking these loose to wear some, some kind of gloves, latex gloves, and safety glasses just to keep from getting gas in your eye. It burns pretty bad. I've had it in my eyes before. It burns. Give that a minute to drip dry. These manufacturers that build these would make everyone's life a lot easier if they just put a small fuel shut off in this line here where you can turn the fuel off. By doing that, it would help you with maintenance and repair on the carburetor, so you don't have to empty the whole tank. And also by turning it off, like when you get ready to winterize this machine, you turn the fuel off, start up the engine, and just run most of the gas out of the carburetor so that it wouldn't have gas left in it to gum up and turn to varnish and clog up and make your float stick. So if you got room to install one of those, it's a great idea. Also, so what can happen sometimes is the float will stick in the down position to the varnish that you have in it. And of course that causes the carburetor to flood, because the fuel just keeps, just runs from gravity, especially if this tank is full. You've got a fuel level above where the carburetor is. So it's just going to flow out of there and flow right into the engine, go in the cylinder, make it by the rings, and go into the oil sump. And then it's going to reduce the viscosity of your oil, and it's not going to lubricate the bearings properly. So then you're going to have to do an oil change on it. So that'll happen. That's something else that can happen. So it's best just if you have a place and enough room to just put a fuel shut off in the line with this hose so you can turn your fuel off, especially when you're storing it for the winter. So we've got, I think we're going to pull this top cover off. I'll get you back up where you can see that. Because we've got a small piece of linkage here going over, and I need to see where it connects to on the other end, so we'll try to take that loose. And the screws for the carburetor that hold the air cleaner on this particular unit are 5/16, as well as the top cover screws are 5/16 as well. Easy peasy. Okay, this I can see where there's choke. No choke needed. Make sure you can see that. Okay, if you see that right there, that is actually opening the flap, and this is a thermostatic choke, so it's thermally controlled. That's one of the reasons why it's near the muffler. They put it in that position because the heat from the muffler will warm up. This has a bimetallic spring, clock spring you might say, inside it, and as it heats up and warms up, as the engine warms up, it needs less choke, so it starts moving in this direction and opens up the flap. So that's how it works. So it does have a choke. It's just an automatic choke. So you don't have to actually turn a choke on. It's when it's cooled all the way down, the choke is on automatically, and then as it warms up, the choke gradually opens up. And it's a good idea, because that's how, like older vehicles that use the carburetor, that's how the choke's operated on them. A lot of them had this bimetallic spring that operated the choke. You'd get in a vehicle, push the throttle pedal all the way to the floor. That would lock the choke in and give you a squirt of fuel, and then you'd start it up and let it run, and it would stay on high idle until it warmed up. And then you get in it and you blip the throttle, and the choke would turn off and it would go down to normal idle if it's running properly. That's how it would work. So let me see if we can get some Torx. I'll probably just use the Torx on these because I like them better. Let me get a Torx wrench. That one's close. Probably that's a T27. Don't believe 30. That's not a really good angle, but we're gonna give it a shot. A lot of times the easiest way to get these loose is go ahead and disconnect your carburetor, and that will allow you to kind of do some angles on the carburetor to get this linkage out. I'll try to show that to you as I'm taking it off. So we want to unhook this small return spring. And it's just a U, so you can see how that works. Sometimes on a carburetor, this will have it'll have a series of holes, maybe 2 or 3 holes to kind of fine tune. Just make sure to make a note of what hole that spring was in so that you put it back where it was. If we're gonna get in here to that with this one, we'll see. No, probably not. The Briggs and Stratton folks have always been real good about making the carburetor so tight that you can't get anything really handy like back in there. But I'm thinking maybe a steel saw wrench, this is the brand, steel, may be exactly what that is. Just gotta find it. I give up. I'll just use a T-handle on it. Man, she's tight. A lot of times when you have a bolt or a screw that don't want to come out and they feel like they're really, really tight, so there's probably some corrosion in them because this is a steel bolt and an aluminum head, so there's probably been a little bit of reaction going on in it, and it's probably got a little corrosion in the threads. I mean, you know, this unit would be exposed to water, so it's going to get wet. Give me just a second, let me grab a little penetrant. Got a little trick I usually use on these is on bolts that are partially seized, is I put a little bit of penetrant, back it out till it, it starts getting tight. Apply some penetrant to it. Let it go back inside. And then just go back toward tight. And essentially what that does, or what you want it to do, is work that penetrant back in the threads. When you back it out, you can expose a little bit more thread and get a little more penetrant on that thread, and then run it back in and it'll transfer, so you kind of get the idea. You don't want to wring this off in the head, then you're going to be spending a bunch of time trying to drill out a broken bolt, and you're going to be trying to, you know, drill it in the center so you can get an easy out tool in it to try to get it out. And, you know, depending on what you do to it there, it's just a big mess. So it's better to just be patient here. Don't get excited. Use some penetrant and just keep working it. See, we're getting a lot, it's starting to move a lot more free. Oh yeah. So we'll take a look at it and see. It may have had Loctite on it. I don't know, but we'll see what it looks like when we get it out of here. Yeah. So you can see it looked like it did have a little bit of Loctite on it. Looks like red Loctite at that. And that's like the permanent kind. But unfortunately, we can't get this thing started up and run to put any heat in it. So we just had to do what we had to do. Fix you guys up, probably can't see nothing. All right, so the carburetor's loose. And if I can get this, so you can see that one just hooks back, kind of goes up over this governor rod. Sometimes this rod, this lever on for this governor rod, it'll have, you know, a series of a couple of holes, or, you know, 2 or 3 holes. Just make a note of what hole it was in. This one is a type that you kind of work it off. You can see that's the position it's in, so up, over and up. So that gets it out of there. So we got the carburetor off. Here is the throttle plate. It feels real gummy. It's like real gooey, and it's not real free moving. So it's gummed up with varnish from old gasoline, and you can see that old brown, hopefully you can see that old brown sticky residue. That's what that is, and it's just like, it's like glue. So that's what's gummed up the carburetor. It's gummed up all the jets in it, and so it's not getting enough fuel to run correctly. So, and a good thing about this unit too is I would recommend replacing this O-ring, but that O-ring is very soft and pliable. It don't look like it's flat. A lot of times when the O-ring gets old and dry, it'll still be flat, and there won't be any protrusion out of the O-ring groove for it to seal. So just inspect your O-ring, make sure there's no cuts or anything, nicks or anything in it. If it looks good, I reuse them every time. I'm not gonna buy a new one if I don't need it. But if it's, you can like put your fingernail on it, feel how soft it is. It's still pliable, so I would reuse it. If it was hard and brittle and flat, then I'd be seeking a new one. So I'll get this up on the bench, and we'll tear this bad boy apart. On some models of carburetors, this is your bowl. This fills up with fuel. There's a float in here with a needle and a seat that it's like your faucet, turning your faucet on and off. The float comes up, it kind of works like your toilet. Float comes up, turns the gas off. A lot of these bowls on certain models of carburetors will have a little drain screw on the bottom located here somewhere, so you can drain the fuel out of the bowl. That would be a good way to winterize one. If it has a fuel shut off, just drain the bowl, put the plug back in it. this holds your bowl on. It's 13 millimeter. Pop that loose, and you can see we're gonna have some fuel. That's why I got this paper towel here. Because I knew it had some in it. And I can already see by the looks of that cap that she's gonna be dirty inside. This bowl has a gasket underneath it. It's a very thin, this bowl is a very thin piece of aluminum. So I just gently work a screwdriver or a small edge in it and remove it very gently, because like this one's trying to do exactly what I was going to explain. Part of the gasket is staying on the carburetor. Let's get a little more gas out of it so I can hold it up here and show you. Part of the gasket's staying on the carburetor body. The other part, as you can see, is wanting to stick to the bowl itself, so you will break your gasket. Then you'll be, hunting for a rebuild kit or that gasket. I'd rather not buy a rebuild kit if I don't have to. And I'm going to get rid of this gas-soaked towel and put it outside my shop, because I don't want to get high. Give me just a sec. Okay, we got that out of the way. So I'm gonna find where it's stuck at, and I'm gonna take an O-ring pick, or you can pick whatever I guess you want to, but for my day job, these are O-ring picks. Just gently go around it and release that gasket from whichever side it's stuck to. You can just pick a side, just release it from one part completely so that you don't tear up the bowl gasket. And just like that, it comes off. So it's fairly clean inside. I mean, that's a pretty clean bowl, but the guy did state that he cleaned the carburetor. So this may have been his way of cleaning the carburetor. This is your float. Looks like the needle. Just looking at this, I haven't pulled the specs on this carburetor, but normally the float is to be level with the carburetor body, not down. That means it takes more fuel to get, it has to have more fuel in the bowl for it to turn it off, but it's and that may be right for this carburetor. I'll just have to look up the specs for this carburetor. We'll go ahead and get that off. I already got this little pin. Up here, you can see this pin right here. That's what holds the float on. So just gently hold up on the float. Pull that pin out. Lift straight up. And I think I see now what's wrong with it. Oh yeah, look here. The needle, this should actually, if you turn it over in your hand like this should fall out in your hand, which I don't ever take them apart like that. But this one won't do that because it is so gummed up that the needle is stuck down in the chamber for the float. So it is it's nasty. Look there, it finally came out. Wow. How dirty. Let me take a glove off so I can show this to you. Get here where we can see. Look at how gummed up the body of that needle is. And see, this is like a what's the word I'm thinking of here? I want to show you this little spring. It's a dampener. It acts like a shock absorber somewhat. It's a damper. See how that's spring loaded and it's stuck in? That's why the float wasn't setting level. So that's popped up and your float sets on that, and that gives a little cushion for the float. So a new kit comes with one of these. When you get a carburetor kit, it'll come with a new needle. But we're gonna clean this one up. I have somewhere in this garage a big giant magnifying glass. So what I'm looking at is this little seat right here is rubber, and I want to make sure that it don't have any tires, and it needs to be soft too, and it does feel soft. It needs to be soft. If it's hard and got a real bad groove in it, it won't seal up and turn the fuel off, and that will cause your engine to flood. It'll get too much fuel. You can't meter it. It'll just go straight into the engine. It'll flood it. This one, the reason it wouldn't start is it wasn't cutting the gas off because it wasn't letting no gas in because it was stuck closed. So I'm gonna take a look at that, make sure the end of that's good. I got some safety glasses here with cheaters in them. I'll gently clean a little bit of this varnish off of this seat, off of the seal. And it actually looks it's excellent. It looks almost new, and it's like I said, it's still nice and soft. So we'll clean that up. This one has some weird, okay, so on 95%, I'm gonna say 98% of these small engine carburetors that are of this design, I've never seen one like this. This kind of looks like a throwaway carburetor, but we're gonna try to give it a shot at cleaning it. But right down in this hole here, there's threads. That's where your little nut goes on to hold the bowl on. So if you take this apart and you spray this out with carburetor cleaner, you think that you've got it clean, and you put it back together and you're like, nope. No, it still don't run. Something else is wrong with it. No, it's still the carburetor, because there's a jet down in here that comes out. And I believe this one will, but I'm gonna see if I can figure out how. It don't look normal. Usually there's a slot in here where you can use the right size screwdriver and put down in there and screw that out. And these threads do go all the way. It looks like it's threaded all the way down into that, but I don't see any good way to turn it. So we're gonna figure that out. All right. It looks like it might take like a little spanner wrench of some sort. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, that's crazy. Let's see if I can get this to where you can see this. Can you see that little brass tube right there in the bottom of the venturi of the carburetor sticking up? It kind of blends in with the throttle plate back there, but right there's a little better shot of it. That ordinarily comes out of the carburetor through here in this direction. So I've not really figured this one out yet, so I'm gonna do a little poking. I was really hoping this had the standard jet I was hoping it would have, so that I could show you guys this very thing. This is the key to getting a carburetor clean, is getting that clean. If you get that clean, that brings the gas up. That's your main jet in there. When the bowl is full, there's a vacuum effect with the engine sucking air in. It pulls off of that like a little straw, and that jet is sized to the engine, and it only lets it pull a certain amount of fuel up. Well, if it's clogged up, all the air in the world can go across it, and it's not going to pull no gas up and put it in your engine. So let me do a little ciphering here, and I'll be right back. Okay, looks like it don't come out. If it does, it takes like a little spanner tool, but I'm going to real carefully like put a little carburetor cleaner. I use the Gum-Out brand carbon choke cleaner. Be sure you definitely wear safety glasses and nitrile of some sort, type gloves, chemical resistant gloves. You don't want this stuff on your skin. But I'm gonna spray it through this jet, and I'm gonna look in the venturi to see if it's coming through it. And it is pretty good flow. So I'm gonna say that that's clear. So I'm gonna carry it right outside the shop here and just clean it off a little bit with the carburetor cleaner, just to get rid of some of this dirt and residue off of it, so it's clean when it goes back together. And another thing I wanted to show was this float. You can see the stuff that's built up on it. It's like it's flaking off, them little flakes. So you want to make sure and get all of that off, because once those little pieces come free, when they break free off the float from vibration, then they could potentially get stuck inside the jet and clog the jet up, and then you're going to be right back to square one. So make sure you clean all the parts up. The inside parts are the most important. I like cleaning the outside parts because it keeps me from transferring from the outside with my hands to the parts I'm putting in. So I'm gonna step outside the shop here and clean this one off a little bit, and I'll get back. Okay, we cleaned it off. Looks much better. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. And also notice how, we'll pull this choke lever back right here. Notice how free that throttle plate is now. And the governor is what controls that. So if it was as stiff as it was, it probably wasn't working properly. So now it's nice and clean with no varnish in it. Okay, so we got the main jet clean. Now we need to get down inside this bore right here. This is your, it's kind of hard to get it to where you can see down in that. See if this will do anything. Yeah. So you see that hole down inside that bore? That's where the needle seals up and turns the gas off, that rubber end. That's the seat. You've heard the term needle and seat. That's the seat. Some seats are replaceable, this one's not. So we're gonna clean that out inside where there's no buildup in it. So there's clearance for the needle to fit in it without any binding. It needs to work really smooth in there, and it don't work really smooth in there. It's just gummed up so bad it like just stays in there. It should just fall right out. So we're gonna clean the needle up a little. I'm gonna use just a little bit of carb cleaner down in the stem of this little dash pot. We're gonna put a little in it and work it. Make sure it don't stick. And it's moving nice and free now. So we'll spray a little bit of carb cleaner on this needle. And we'll take us a wire brush here. And it's probably not the best tool to use for this, but just be gentle. You're not trying to polish this thing up to a mirror shine. You're just trying, a toothbrush would probably be much better than this wire brush. But I don't want to take the time to go get a toothbrush. I'm just gonna lightly go over it some, and then I'm gonna take a paper towel and wipe it. We're just getting the biggest part of the buildup off of it. Don't be grinding on the rubber tip. Don't be using a wire brush on your rubber tip. I'm not hitting the rubber tip, I'm just hitting the aluminum body of the needle. So I'm pleased with that. That looks much better. I think that's usable. Much better than it looked before. And the dash pot is smooth. Now for the float, I'm just gonna take a paper towel and wipe the float. Just be gentle with it. You don't wanna be doing anything crazy. I'm just gonna wipe the float off. So there's nothing on it that can come loose later on and gum up or stop up the jet and the carburetor. And you know, this one's not bad enough that I need to use any chemicals on, but that's plenty good enough. Now if you notice this, when you screw you're probably asking, some of you guys are probably asking, if there's fuel in a bowl outside of this, and you've got this nut bolt screwed up in like this holding the bowl on, how does fuel get out of the bowl around this bolt and up through into the main jet? How does it do that? Well, it does it right here. See that hole? You can see the light through it right there. And then you see that hole in the end. Okay, and see how that's a recessed cut for the threads. It's a lot smaller diameter right here than it is on the threads. Also, if you look at this pickup, see those notches in it? There's one on each side. Fuel can get into there through where the bow's seated against it, and then it flows through this hole and then up and out of that hole. So this is actually, looking at it closer here, take a look at it. That meters the fuel somewhat too on this particular one, because it looks like there's a small, if you see how that, you can tell there's a piece inserted into that bore on that hole. That's a jet. So we'll clean that up a little bit, just to make sure that it's clear. I can see through it, so it's pretty clear, but we're gonna check this little. This don't take much, so don't get crazy on when you squirt it, because this will blow back in your face. So you definitely want to have some. If I plug this one off a little, you can see it coming out. So I hope you saw that. And this gasket, that's a gasket that seals the bowl up. We're not going to disturb it, we're going to leave it. Yep, that's sure enough the jet right there. That's what meters the fuel up through that tube. The little tube I showed you that's back inside of here, that's down in here, that meters the amount of fuel that comes up through it. The bowl's pretty clean, so we'll just wipe the bowl out a little bit. Clean this area here where the gasket seats. Clean that up. Make sure that's all good. Nothing left inside to come loose later on and stop up the jet. So short of cleaning out this bore in here, we've got the parts pretty well clean. So I'm probably just going to take a small screwdriver and go down. Don't be real careful and do not go too deep on this and get any kind of a metal or anything all the way at the bottom of this, because you can, if you put a nick in that seat and it's made of brass, if you nick that seat, then this taper on this needle valve will never be able to seal it. So be very careful when you're cleaning this seat, because if you damage the seat, it won't shut the fuel off. It won't cut the fuel off when it needs to. With this particular carburetor right here, if you damage this seat, you might as well just buy a new carburetor. And you know, sometimes you might not want to go through this process and clean the carburetor and just, you know, get this number. There's numbers right here on the carburetor, on the flange. Sometimes they're on the sides here, but most of the time they're on the flange. So just get the numbers and pick a model of the engine you've got and buy a carburetor and slap it on there. But this one's a good candidate to try to show how to clean a carburetor on a small engine. So I've got this Scotch-Brite. I'm going to cut a small piece of this that will fit kind of tight down in the seat and I'm going to spin it inside there and clean that out. I'm not going to use anything metal in the seat because that is a bad idea. So give me a second, let me grab a pair of scissors so I can cut some of that. So we can see about what size that is, you know, a little less than a quarter. Sometimes I take a drill bit that's the exact right size and just take it down in there just a little ways and clean that some, but I'm not going to show that on this video because, well, it's just not a good idea. So we'll get this started. Hopefully we can get this started down in there. Let me get a small punch. Let's try this one. See if we can get this down inside of here. We'll get it started in there. We'll turn it. My piece might be a little bit too thick. Not real sure yet. A little round bristled brush, like a brush you use to clean a paint gun with, would be perfect for this. But for now, I just want to, yeah, I actually got it down in there. For now, I'm just going to use this. Let me trim just a tad off of this. Now, once you get done doing this, you're going to need to take your carburetor back out side, or I mean in the floor if that's what you want to do, but you're going to need to spray it back out with some carb cleaner because little pieces of abrasive will come off of this Scotch-Brite and it will be down in this bore, and that's bad. So we'll just roll this up. We got her started down in there pretty decent now. Get it all the way down inside it. I know I'm not real good with camera work. It'd be nice if I had a cameraman like some of these folks do on YouTube, but I don't. And so I've got it down in there. Let me grab a pair of needle nose pliers. Need something to hold on to it with so we can turn it in there. And we'll just kind of spin that around and around and push a little bit more of it in there as we do that. And that'll at least get us started on some of the cleaning. And yeah, that looks a lot better. Still a little bit dirty in there, but much better than it was. You see the discolored carb cleaner come out of there. Let's see how our needle fits. Look, that's all it took was just a little bit of cleaning to, you can see it just falls out of there. Don't stay in there no more. It's not gummed up. Okay. So give me just a second here and we'll Okay, now that we've cleaned them all with carburetor cleaner and got them relatively good, we're going to use a blowgun And we're gonna blow some air through them. This is gonna be a little bit loud, but that's what we're gonna do. Both ways if possible. And we're gonna go through this. And you've got an air bleed right there. Looks like a vent for your bowl. So we're gonna blow through that too. Make sure it's clear. That's pretty much it for the carb itself. Now we'll blow through this. This is the jet. We'll make sure it ain't stopped up. Yeah. Yep, that's definitely the jet. Now we've blowed through all of that, we will reassemble it, and I'm hoping that our float looks a little bit better, because on a plastic float you really can't adjust it, but this little tab right here, that tab right there, on a brass float you can take a pair of needle nose and bend that and adjust that and get the float level. So we're going to start off. Another thing happens too is these gaskets for your bowl gaskets, sometimes they stretch and they end up being bigger than what the diameter of the carb body is. So I usually try to put them on the inside here. This one's not too bad. I think we can get it to stay where we want it. We're gonna seat that right back in the bowl, like so. Set that to the side. And we're gonna take the needle. I'm gonna try to show you here where this needle goes. So, let's get this angle right here. You see this slot right here? Let me get you focused there. That slot right there. This little fits right in that slot, between the slot and that tab. Come on, focus. There we go. Fits right there. Then you take this float and needle assembly and you gently drop the needle and float assembly down in the seat. Take your pin, get this lined up. It's working pretty smooth. It looks like that spring's a little bit weak on the float. Right there is where it's seating at. The needle is seated right there, so that's pretty level. That's your spring movement right there on the dash pot. So right there is closed. It's pretty level. And you take your bowl, set your bowl back down on the carb, like so. Install your nut / jet. Do not over tighten this. It don't need to be stupid tight. You can see how I'm holding the ratchet. This ratchet's long enough to like break this carburetor in two, but I'm just gonna hold it by the, and you'll feel it stop when it bottoms out. Just give it a little, just an extra little snug, and that's back together. Cleaned and reassembled. And you can like shake it, and you can hear the float in there. If your float's nice and free, it's shaking. So I'll come back with a second video, part 2 on this, on reinstalling the carburetor, and we'll put some fuel in it and we'll see if it fires up. So I appreciate you guys coming back and watching my video. I do greatly appreciate the views you give on my videos. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. It helps my channel out. It don't cost you anything. And share it with your friends. If you got a friend that needs to clean a carburetor, this tutorial will get him started, he or she. And you guys have a good one. We'll be back with part 2 on reinstalling this carb and adding some fuel and see if we can get this pressure washer to run. I'll see you guys on the next one.